Charge that.
Right. Al, this is all for you. This is all
What do you do?
for
Well, we rest
Yes.
the car going. I should not.
Just bring-
Take that off. They would do it. No. I walked away.
Brian. All right, good morning, everybody. I'd like to convene, Washington County Public Works Committee for the month of August. Or correction, July, already there in August. For this, July 30th. With that, a motion to accept the minutes from our July 2nd meeting. Lance, I got. Mr. Kelly on the second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Department reports, first up, Public Works. Deb, the floor is yours.
All right, so the first thing we have is we got a DEC grant, last year, I believe it was, but I forgot to roll it over when I did my rollovers, so we need to roll over this DEC grant. It's for County Route 37. It's kind of like a drainage structure because there's drainage issues over by John Street, so.
Moving finance.
Second.
Second by Cassie. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Next up, we have a supplemental for our Burgoyne Avenue County Route 37 project that is going on over there. This adds money to match the cost of the bid. Previously, the money that was allocated was the engineer's estimate, and then when the bid comes in, they match it. So this matches the money for the construction bid, the increased cost in construction inspection, because that is a percentage of the bid, and detailed design. They had to add a little bit of that because we had to do some work with the village of Fort Edward for their water. But I think we got it done. So they didn't have to rip our road.
Does this go to finance?
Yes, sir. That's a motion moved by Jay, second by Cassie. Any other discussion? Yes, sir.
Well, this resolution, if we forward, what's the cost of what we're forwarding?
To match is.
This is the 5%.
But is there a number to that? It should be an amount, shouldn't it? So we know what we're talking.
Yes.
So 5% of the add-on, we're adding $519,910 to the construction bid.
And that's coming out of our pocket, that 519.
No,
Okay, that's what the
5%.
5% of that.
5% of that.
26,000.
And just to be clear, we're adding 7,186 to the construction inspection in addition to that. And we're adding 8,837 to the detailed
Who'd run
design.
that total?
I can do it right now.
25,000 and you got another 50. To 40,000.
535,933 times 0.05 is almost 27,000. 26,796.65.
And then where does that come out of?
County road.
County road just,
We just transferred the money back to county road on this project because it was originally budgeted at 80/20. So we're gonna take some of that refund back and refund it.
thank you, that was all.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Next up, we have the Gray Lane Bridge in Whitehall. This adds money for right-of-way acquisition. It adds $22,759 total to the project, so 5% of that.
Did you say 22,000?
22,750. Yeah.
10%.
Yep.
Yeah.
10%.
I think that's gotta go to finance too, right? Motion moved finance, Jay's on it. Second by Mr. Baker. Also thinking Cassie was gonna do it. She's too distracted. Any other discussion?
Dan's cringing because I went yellow.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The administrative first aid warrior.
Trying to keep you.
So next up, we have, another funding source is Bridge New York. Bridge New York has changed over the years. It used to be a competitive process, and now we are allocated a certain amount through the program, from Bridge New York. So we were awarded, $3,296,500. And that is to replace a bridge on Goodman Road in Fort Ann. That was flagged either last year or the year before, and we had to do a load rating and post it so that we could keep it open.
Motion to move to finance. Cassie's got it.
I may vote no, I had such a bad case.
Oh, God.
Lance seconded it.
Needs bridges.
Any other discussion or questions about project? All those in favor?
This grant, we have to front the money, right?
We do.
Yes. Yep. And it's gonna go over budget.
Not getting that.
Just a little.
Just gonna get, maybe inflation will turn around. That's it, you're right.
Was it 10% for every 6 inches? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carried.
All I wanted to say is that our pavement marking machine is, we've worked the bugs out of it and gotten into the learning curve, and we're getting out there full force on painting the roads, and I think it's great that you guys invested in the county forces doing it, because we're gonna have to bring one.
We hopefully we'll have some numbers maybe by the end of the year, but I don't think we'll really realize the savings or the values, the true value until next year because of the learning curve. So, I mean, if you really go hour per hour, I think everything's looking pretty good there. So, all indications are it was a smart move. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I just wanted to mention two things. Number one, seems like Jay's awful sensitive about breaches. But number two, I wanted to say how impressed I was with the concept of putting the 100-foot culvert in up on Varga.
Oh, that was pretty neat, huh?
That's a pretty amazing engineering phenomenon. Just getting the culvert there, just impressed the heck out of me, much less putting it in.
We should put some pictures of that on our website so everybody can
I
see
think
it,
you definitely should, because
Okay.
that is amazing.
or on our Facebook.
So, pat on the back of those guys.
Except Jay's gonna make a comment.
No, I just,
Jay wants.
Deb, no, I just wanted to thank,
The bridge.
thank Deb personally for the job her people did when we ran into a snafu on our bridge project. And they were right in there and really helped out, and got it done. You know, we wouldn't have been able to do it in a day or a day and a half, whatever it took without you guys there, so thank you.
Keep on moving forward.
Any questions for Deb? Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great day.
You too.
Come on, get your seats all warmed up, please. You're gonna tell us everything's great, right?
Yeah. All good news today.
Don't worry, I'm not far away. Nor am I. There's a lot of red on you. Okay, go ahead.
That's good
Is it?
in this case. So yeah, I only really had one actionable item today. I thought I'd use that short agenda to talk about some of the project updates. But the sewer billing late fee increase, this arose mainly because of our sewer District 1 cash flow problems. What happens up there is we have a couple of large industries that use a ton of water. So when you break it down budget wise, you plan on these industries contributing a bunch of revenue and therefore cash flow into the system that we use to pay our bills. So our billing structure, sewer 1 and sewer 2, contains a 5% late fee for bills paid past due. Talk about this with our commissioners and what we might be able to change here to try to bring in some more cash flow because quite frankly, we weren't able to pay all of our bills in the beginning of the first half of this year. One of those bills was from Queensberry Water, who was assessing us a 12% late fee charge. So, we're waiting on our users to pay us with a 5% late fee, and we might have to pay a 12% late fee because of that. So what we're looking to do is increase our late fees in sewer 1 and sewer 2 to the 12%. That's based on a couple water departments in our county and then Queensberry being around that number. So I believe the way to accomplish this would be a local law change. I think the timing of it would probably be when we do the sewer rate laws for 2025. Well, it'll be, I don't know if it'll be on the same law or it'll be its own, but I want to bring it up now, so we're a little ahead of the game. And I'm asking the committee's approval to do whatever it takes to get the late fee changed from 5% to 12%.
We generally establish the late fee in the local laws in the past.
I don't know.
I believe so.
Yeah, I looked for it, I didn't see it. I think it's been that way for probably decades, the 5%.
I don't know if it's in the continuing one, but it might have been in the establishing, so we can check that for you, Dan.
Well, I guess my only question was just how quickly we want to do it. We want to do something that could supersede it and goes into effect within 60 days, or at that point you're at going into September, October with budget anyway. You just want to let it float, do it at the end of the year.
So that cash flow problem, right?
Yeah, so we're sending out bills next week actually for District 1 mainly, which is where the issues are. So we'll be okay the rest of the year. My goal with this was to do at least January 1st of 25, so we'll try to prevent this from happening.
Just to give you more magnitude, he's still sitting at $49,000 in receivables. That's high.
Yeah.
For sewer 1.
I think that's almost half of.
It's a little abnormal, so there's something definitely different.
Makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Question for Dan, if someone is already late on the 5% and it changes to 12, would they stay on the 5 or can you move to 12?
I would say prior to the law's enactment, you have to charge them 5. Once the law's enacted, you can charge them 12. So there'll be a line of demarcation. You can only charge them 5% up to the change, and then after the change, you can charge them 12.
So to that point, if we're sending out bills next week, anyways, we're not gonna have 12% done by that. Right. No matter how fast we
We
check
have to continue to have the rest of the taxpayers in the county pay that other 7%.
Dan?
I have some concerns. Why are the businesses paying late?
I think it's case by case basis. I don't get reasoning. I don't know if they have their own cash flow issues or what.
Well, I'm thinking in my mind, are we hurting people in Washington County by doing this? I know we're only doing it to motivate them to pay sooner, but in the long run, we're hurting them. And if there's a problem, is there a problem with the time of the year, the time of the month that they're being billed, which maybe would resolve it, but 12% is excessive. I mean, in all reality, it shouldn't be that much.
Right. And
I could see high rate for writing a bad check, because now a bad check, you've actually, and you've told us in good faith, that we can cash this and we can make plans with it, but a late fee of 12% just seems high.
It's being assessed against us.
That's the reason we're
It's coming from
calling
the
it,
outside.
so.
This is,
Yes,
We're
but why
doing-
is it coming? Yeah, but
we're doing business with someone who's charging us a 12% late fee for all of those is what I'm hearing.
Right.
So the
I'm
question,
I'm not saying that, but we're saying another town, another county, which is Warren, and you said town of
Queensbury,
Queensbury.
that's where we get our water from for sewer 1.
And the thing of it is, they got money coming out their ears up there, so they're just motivating us. Well, what I'm saying is I don't want to do this just as a knee-jerk reaction and hurting our businesses. So I'm concerned about doing this. That's all. That's excessive. And we could cash flow it for 5%, can't we?
Not sewer one. Sewer one's the IDA part. We don't normally get into that business, mixing county
Well,
taxpayer.
Last time I argued that we don't get into that business, we own the sewer business and we can't get out of it. And now we can't help ourselves in it.
We don't normally burden the other taxpayers.
But
outside
you
of the
wouldn't if you
district.
charge the 5%.
I'm sorry,
You wouldn't if you charge 5%, you wouldn't burden anybody, right?
we charge 5% now.
When you loan money to,
We don't loan money to them.
that's what I'm saying. If you did for the 5%, that's what you're getting for interest in your savings. And you wouldn't burden anybody. And it just, you wouldn't hurt anybody and we solved the problem and avoided 12%.
But a loan to the district doesn't help his unpaid bill problem. It masks the underlying issue, unfortunately.
But the 12%, I thought was hurting.
We're paying 12% on real taxes now. Your property taxes are at 12%. 1% a month is 12%.
A year,
It's not
yeah.
an uncommon late penalty, unfortunately.
But that 12% is what, 1 month?
The sewer district one is being charged 12% for being late paying their bills. Because
Right.
the users are late paying.
But for
their
1
bills.
month.
No. The late fee goes on. If they bill in February, the late fee goes on in August. If they bill
Twice
twice
a
a
year.
year. So
Okay,
if their February bill goes unpaid, there'll be a late fee assessed.
yeah,
When
so
they're
you're
August
talking
bill.
24%
No,
is what you're charging.
the late fee goes on one time. And then if the second bill is unpaid,
Yes,
it gets a 7% re-levy fee and becomes part of their tax bill in January.
and that won't go up if we raise it to 12%.
The
It
7%
stays.
re-levy fee won't be affected by the 12% late fee. The 12% late fee will just change the February to August bill. Or the April to October if it's sewer.
So that's 19%.
His plan to do it for 2025 makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Because you can roll it into that one that we do in the end of the year.
Right, and I'm just trying to evaluate the crisis, if it's crisis or we just get after it, Cassie had her.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but you say it's mostly businesses that aren't paying.
Sewer one is entirely commercial, yeah.
So- And from the business perspective, that 5% is probably the cheapest rate that they're paying on money that they owe, so they're probably not paying it, because the money they're paying other places cost is at a higher interest rate. Like, look at, you can see a perfect example, when you have your tax bills that are unpaid, there's a lot of guys with big money there, and they'll just say, oh, well, it's cheaper for me to let that go unpaid and pay something else. I mean, it's business. I bet you they're not paying it, because it is only 5%. I don't have a problem moving it up.
And I will say then to your point, we have discussed other methods of possibly pursuing this, and this just seems the most feasible because we're looking at the percentage. I mean, I would say if a business wants to come discuss with us, explain why they're not paying, and that could be a case by case basis. I don't know if we've ever done payment plans or anything like that, but I haven't been approached for something like that either. As far as I know, they're just choosing not to pay. I don't know that they're in hardship.
In my mind, the biggest question before the committee at this point, once you kind of understand the math of it, right? Do we act now or do we put it in a normal cycle? Is, we can bridge the gap, I guess, to Dan's point. But, is that gonna motivate business? Or do we just take it at the end of the year and make it so that they'll have plenty of lead time on it?
It becomes a solution in search of a problem, because we haven't, once again, heard these individual cases. Now, you want to put in there somewhere, if there are comments or concerns, address them too, that's fine, but otherwise, I think it's a pretty basic question of who's paying the penalty.
Right.
And the intent of our 5%, it seems, was to just be a pass-through.
Yeah.
Well, it's 12%. So again, if we want to be a pass-through, it's pretty basic math with an understanding there's people behind the math and there's case by case.
So you're advocating for moving now,
Yeah, absolutely.
Cassie?
Is Were you just using that October as an example, or is that for the bills that go out again? What
So
was, you
the-
just said the date, I just want to
So
share that.
the problem child right now, in my opinion, is sewer one.
Mhm.
You can't act to affect the sewer one bills because they go out in August. And you need 2 months to pass a local law. So you won't fix the sewer one project problem this year anyway.
Okay.
So you're only, 2025 makes sense because sewer two isn't a problem. They're unpaid aren't any more drastic than they are in any other year. Sewer one is the new problem, for lack of a better word. And you're too far in the cycle now to affect.
Okay,
the
that's
next
what I
bill.
wanted to know.
So
I
you-
thought you said something
So
about.
might as well
October.
go
Get it in
If
there.
you roll it into local law at the end of the year, it'll start with that February cycle in 25, and that, I think Kevin's plan for that, it makes a lot of sense.
You're,
And I agree with that too. I just had a question for Al. I wasn't clear on if this is becoming maybe a crisis with a couple of these big users. Did you say that we can put the entire bill onto the tax bill, or is it just the
So as
interest?
long as they're a Washington County property, it will be re-levied. The out of district ones, we have a whole other legal problem where we have to sick his attorney on them. We can't re-levy on a property that's out of district. So any of these sewer one properties that are Washington County properties, it will show up on their January bill if it remains unpaid after December 1st.
So the out of county ones, we just shut the water off?
Well, Kevin has some, we've had a couple of problem children in the past. We've had to sick their attorney on, and we've had some results. But it hasn't been to this magnitude in the past.
Right, and these users that were waiting on payment for now have paid in past years, so I don't expect they'll keep. Like that, yeah.
Dan, I'll come back to you. I'm gonna go to Dave. So,
Olson looking at 5%. 12.7% might change their mind because they're probably making 600% of the money now for investment inventory, so if they're seeing 12% may change their mind and make it up real. On time, I should say.
Dan?
Yeah, I want to get an understanding of this bill, is that we're being charged 12% or the sewer district is being. Who is it being billed from? Who's billing? it?
From Queensbury Water.
Queensbury, but it's not for water because it's sewer?
It's water.
Oh, it's water, not sewer.
Well, I'm sorry, it's the sewer that we put through their pump station, because our entire district actually flows to Queensbury's pump station. And they send us a bill.
But it's not water, it's sewer.
Right.
But it's Queensbury Water is in charge of the Queensbury.
Right, they're a share, I don't know, if it's water or wastewater, I don't know what their title is, but yeah.
Which is also why they're doing the $1 million slip line project, because unfortunately, some of that flow is I&I. So we're being billed for
Right.
non-sewer water.
But they're paying it, the users are paying it, right? We don't pay, the county doesn't pay it, right?
The county does not pay.
Right, okay.
And that's why Kevin's updating you today, because he's got a bill that.
Right.
Because his payers aren't paying him,
Right.
he's not in a
right.
position to
The
pay.
county would have to make up the difference between the 5% and 12%.
I dropped my debate.
We need to move on anything right now?
I've got direction, obviously, changing when we write the local law in December. I assume that's what everybody wants to do at this.
That seems to be the smartest action.
If we have consensus there, keep moving forward.
agreed.
Request a draft. Okay. That was easy, right?
Yeah, so a short agenda. Yeah, I just thought I'd talk about some of the projects. I don't get to do that every month. I try to keep it short for you guys, but utilize this. We have 4 projects in construction, 3 where we got to the point where we were able to apply for funding and cross our fingers. That 1 project is currently in the design phase, which construction phase would be next. So our largest project, the treatment plant upgrade project, some of you may know it as the Energy Performance Project, is nearing the final stretch. We're scheduled right now to be completed in January. And bulk remaining work is tank work. Our digester tanks, they're getting rehabbed, and there's a bunch of equipment that go with them. Our HF18 project, it's the major storm separation project at Hudson Falls. It's right now it's about an $8 million project. That is in design phase. We're hoping to get construction in 2025 on that. So next year was when you will be seeing boots on the ground and all the traffic concerns to go with that.
Which will then be a $10 million project. It
Yeah.
started at 5.5.
Yeah. Our sewer one project, which we just mentioned a little bit, that's a slip lining and manhole rehab project. It's the entirety of sewer district one, which is all of the streets on the east side of the airport for the most part. The slip lining portion is done. And the manhole rehabilitation project, which they were actually broken out to save the district money. The manhole rehabilitation project will be underway within either this week or next week, so very soon. A couple of the smaller ongoing projects or plans we have going on is the capital improvement plan. That is essentially an asset management plan. We have procured an engineering firm to do. It's 50% grant funded. They're gonna look at all of the district's assets and lay out a 25-year improvement plan. That's scheduled to be done in February 25. Our John Street Green Infrastructure Plan is related to a stormwater separation project, but it's a little earlier in the process. Or to look at areas around John Street and try to figure out where we can use green infrastructure to separate some more stormwater and be friendly to the environment at the same time. In addition to some of those ongoing things, we have been approached by a couple new developers looking to connect to us, which those aren't our projects, they're their projects, but the district has to consult on those and review them, and in some cases offset that with storm separation projects of our own. But the goal with those, and one of them is actually a different municipality, the village of Argyle, would be to increase revenue sources, not revenue so much, revenue sources, and therefore lower the cost of our current users, when we end up doing the budget. And then our last project I wanted to mention is our administration building project, which is paused right now because we applied for funding. I appreciate you guys letting me do that last month. But we're hoping to qualify for some funding there, and then I'll revisit that project at that time. And then, I'm sorry, one more. We have a network infrastructure project going on at the plant, which we're doing ourselves with the county IT department, who's been great. And we're just upgrading the internet and networking down there because it's outdated and not keeping up with some of our new equipment. So that hopefully will be done within the next couple months. Hope you all got all that.
Couple questions on your project report. When it got all done, and I don't know why I'm a little foggy on this, what's the outcome or decision of the Argyle feasibility? Is that moving forward with the feasibility study is what that is?
As far as I know, the village when you do an engineering report, you usually have 3 different options. It's kind of what it comes down to. It coming to us was their recommended alternative. So they applied for funding based on their project being connected to us. So they're just gonna wait and see what happens.
So it has really nothing to do with us, it has to do the town and the village. Village.
The village, but
So really, that's their ballywag, is the study.
right. Yeah.
Okay.
We were just approached to see if we could take it. We told them the steps they would have to go through, and the approvals they would have to go through to eventually connect to us, but it seemed like a good idea.
To parallel with that question, I remember a year ago we discussed, and I don't remember the answer to this one either, is sewage haulers being able to use the plant after you get all the upgrades. What was the outcome of that?
That's one of the projects we applied for funding. It's septic receiving and sludge drying. They kind of go hand in hand. You can't do one without the other. And if that project gets the funding we're hoping for, which would be a 50% grant, then we would revisit it at that point. That probably would be November to January-ish. We'll hear on that. But part of that project is to take septic again. We don't have the ability to do it right now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. All right, so moving on to some others. In your packet, you have, two documents that you need to go through. Oh, that's. So here's the bottom line. About this a little bit later. Middle Falls Barn. As these two documents are impacting. The first document is that, you take lead agency. You've been through this drill before, right? And the other documents, secret. Did I get that right, Dan?
Yes, you did.
All right. So I'll give you a chance to kind of look through those two documents. See if you have any questions.
It's gonna come up during government ops, but I forgot about it. So,
Right, so we want to move into finance with full board, the one this morning, the one next
I
week,
think these go to full board after we move these.
for today.
For the August.
For August. Okay.
Nothing else is supposed to be put on for today, but we'll talk about that.
You can go to the States next.
Yeah. Any other question? Okay, so let's go one by one here. So first document, it's a resolution. For the Washington County become lead agency. For the. Second, motion. Jay's got one. It's Lance and Cassie or seconds. Any discussion on first resolution? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And dovetailing into that is a negative declaration that requires to go to the full board. Motion. Thank you, sir. Second by Lance.
All reviewed by the lawyer, just so it's in.
Any other discussion on the negative declaration? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So those two resolutions move forward.
This is not converting.
Any other business for public service this month of July? Bless you. Hearing none, we're adjourned.
I wait for Scott, he's on the phone.
Yeah, we
Public safety meeting to order. First thing is to accept the minutes from the July 2nd meeting. Moved by Jim, seconded by Daryl. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next thing up, we're gonna bring Sue up and jump all the way down to you, Daryl, because she is here. She gets to leave, what?
Yeah. So we received a grant award notice for pretrial services to support certified pretrial services for $97,645. And at this point in time, I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I know it says recognize funds, but bring it to your attention. I have to submit a spending plan to the state, and I'm going to be honest, I'd prefer that these dollars maybe go into our next year's budget. So, and really the only thing that at this point in time that we would be perhaps spending dollars on besides point ones are maybe a tablet or something like that to support for our on-call person. So I've already had some preliminary conversations with IT about that and the best avenue for that. So these are dollar awards that were granted. It's to support certified pretrial services. It was an analysis based on the 5-year average of lower court arraignments is how they came up with the dollar amount. And then it's an automatic one payment. And it's for the year 2024 to 2025. So I'll revisit this.
So motion to move to finance? Not yet.
She
I think
doesn't
not
want to do the
yet.
money yet.
I think
She
not
just
yet,
wants
but
to-
thank you.
Just informational.
Yeah, just informational at this point in time. Originally, I was going to recognize them, but I think I'll wait until the spending plan gets approved
Okay,
by the state and then we'll move from there.
works either way.
All right?
You might be able to help your 2025 budget.
Yes, yes.
Oh, so it's not multi-year.
It's a state-
Yeah, so we still would be able to
Okay.
use it for those, I would put it into our budget for next year. Use it in that framework.
Understand, thank you.
So, and then I'll just do a quick update on a couple of community service projects. We finished the White Creek Town Building Painting Project. And then we're working on, started the Greenwich Hudson River Park site painting, painting project. So that'll be both exterior and some interior painting. All right.
Okay, any questions for Sue? Thank you. Okay, next up, I'll give public safety the next chance. We're kind of going in a different order because you
Yeah.
dragging, yeah, that's right.
You used to scramble.
I can do it all. Can't we always?
Good morning. A
Morning.
couple of housekeeping to move 3 of our grants forward. From previous, our emergency management 22, emergency management 23, domestic terrorism from 22, and our hazard mitigation. Just move them forward. Previous years up to this budget.
So we need a motion to move to finance?
You do them all at once? You do them all at once?
You're leading the show, kid.
Oh. Go ahead, Daryl's moving off.
Blanket motion to move all 3 to finance?
Seconded by Scott and Jim. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
You'll see three separate resolutions of finance, but.
Right.
Thank you. The next is our Willard Tower site shelter. It's in need of replacement. It's been in need of replacement for several years. It's a stick-built building, which is not great for being on top of a mountain, so. Warren County has an RFP for shelter replacement for prefab buildings, which I checked with the purchasing officer, and we can piggyback off of that RFP and contract that they have. I'm looking for permission to go ahead and do that.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Daryl, seconded by Scott.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Do we know, is that gonna be a metal structure? or-
Yes.
Okay.
So that's my next, I was waiting for this part to go.
And
So the
that's the
next,
next question.
You got a motion, right?
And
So-
discussion.
I don't know, are you working on that motion or are you moving past? Because I had
We
a
haven't
question.
moved past it yet. We're still, we answered Daryl's
What's
question.
the, what's
and
the
then-
cost?
we got, that's the next part.
That question was just asked, so. Back.
So the next part is going with the lowest bidder, which is Capital Digitronics, which is one of our radio vendors. The cost for this shelter would be, for the shelter and shipping and everything would be 79,056, which is all grant funded. So it comes out of our radio grant. So pending the author, because that goes to a resolution. Piggyback, is it?
Can we do them all in one, Deb, or do you break that out? We could do it all in one, can't we? But the grant and the budget.
No, do we need a resolution to piggyback up?
No,
that's
just committee.
Okay, disregard that.
All right, so
So
So.
just looking for the
We
okay
have a-
to,
motion on the floor and a second for committee approval to piggyback off the RFP for the shelter.
For the cost of,
79,056,45, which is grant funded.
that is my motion.
Okay, one more discussion. Dan?
How big is the building?
It is 16 by 20.
16 by 20. Now, what, is there a foundation up there now?
That's also has to be done. The current building is on pylons. So
So,
they're taking down, there's an older Amish shed actually. that
Yeah.
Is no longer being used. And then,
well, I just asked.
yes,
because I don't
there's not
understand.
gonna be a foundation. It's gonna be on a crushed rock pad.
Also, it's got its own base.
Yes,
Is it gonna be assembled or moved up
it's
there?
gonna be assembled up at the mountain, on top of the mountain.
Okay,
It comes in panels.
thank you.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
One thing I'd like to mention, last week we had a community emergency preparedness assessment, okay? The Department of Homeland Security came in, went through all the assessment on the department. Of course, Tim was there, and then public health and cybersecurity was, or IT was there. Went through all the different things. Very interesting day talking about preparedness going through each thing. And Tim can probably explain a lot better, but I think it's something that when we have in the future again, it's every 2 years, 4 years?
Every 3 years.
Every 3 years. Be a great thing for the supervisors to attend and understand exactly how well a lot of our departments in the planning and preparation for emergency preparation. It's really interesting seeing how they work together and all the different things they've done and what they felt our strengths were in different areas. Of course, budget came up a few times, but it was really very interesting and informative.
You asked for the tub grinder?
I asked for a tub grinder. I asked for the refrigerator. What's the third thing?
I don't remember. Oh, big generator.
Big generator, tractor trailer generator. Brian said not this year.
Keep that in mind.
Mr. Chairman?
Very interesting to hear him give this ruling account here. You should have heard him whine, I assigned him to go do it.
We did get lunch though.
Okay, next up, we'll go back to the top. John Graham, got it, Tom, there you are.
Everybody. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Great.
yeah. Color ink.
I can do this.
Should be a couple extra for the folks here, but.
The new fee structure.
Yeah,
I think I already
Nice.
paid some of those.
Give you folks a moment to look at those.
What's the range in the area?
I've got that in, what you mean, okay. I reached out to some of our neighboring, code enforcement offices, different municipalities to see what they had. The same thing.
So is this like a capital region thing or is this,
I reached out to, let's see, I think I have some in Essex, Warren, Washington, Hamilton. I even reached out to Livingston because, from what I've been told, they're a similar setup.
So, okay.
As us, so.
So you're doing apples to apples over there?
Yeah. And this isn't the
complete list that I eventually want to go through. This is just what I wanted to get started with. They're a little easier to go through as opposed to square footage, 25 cents versus 30 and all of that. So eventually I will be bringing those to folks, but this is what I wanted to get going sooner than later. So for CO searches, currently doing 25, I'm recommending we do 50. Building without a permit, or what we refer to as BWOPs, we have a significant number of folks that kind of treat that as a business expense. They might do 10 and get caught on one. As far as building without a permit, just like, well, if I get caught, all I gotta do is pay $100. I would like to raise that up to try to get contractors in specific to come in a little bit more often and have it be felt a little bit more. Permit renewals, $25 each. I'd like to jump that up to 50. Amendments, that's just like, somebody was originally going to do trusses, now they're going to do rafters. We have to go back to the drawing board and review that stuff. $25 doesn't really cover our time to do that kind of thing. Temporary certificates, what we require for that, say somebody's building a new house, they would like to move in. We make sure that all of their safety things are in place. They might not have everything done, but anything related to their safety, we will issue them a temporary certificate. Like to increase that a little bit. And then that last one, I'd like to dig into a little bit more here. If you guys wanted to talk about the first.
Anybody have any questions or problems with changes? That, not to be.
The failure to call for inspections, is that spelled out when they get the permit? So they know that when you're done with this phase, somebody's gotta come out and look at it. Everybody's aware of what those rules are. Yeah, when they get their permit, they also get a site notice, which is supposed to be hung up on the property somewhere. On there, there's a checklist. Our software automatically checks off what's required for that particular project. So everybody should be aware of it, especially the permit. And I know in the past, in some situations, pictures have been acceptable when an inspector is not available. Is that something that's still gonna be a thing or no? Yeah, what we've said for that, our policy on that is if they call us for the inspection and say we're swamped or, it's a simple, quick thing, we'll agree with them and go ahead and send us pictures. What was happening before is that was an assumption. That you go, oh, well, you've done them before. Now would say, okay, call us, we do it case by case. That would still be an option.
Dan?
Yeah, what's the average cost of a permit to build a house? And I know there's gotta be an average. I know it ranges big time because of the size and
Yeah.
but couple $100, $300, $400. I have no idea.
It's based on the square footage.
Right.
So, somewhere between 3 and 5, maybe.
Okay, so let's say you got the footage, let's say it was $500. Now, if you don't get a permit, which I can't imagine you wouldn't for a home, I could see for a lot of other structures. This building without a permit, this is a amount of money on top of that?
Correct.
Okay. So if it was a $50 shed, and they didn't get a permit and you caught them, it'd be $50 plus $200.
It's $100 minimum.
Right.
So if it's a $50 shed, it would be $100 minimum on top of that.
Okay, so then the permit would come out of that $100.
It'd be 100 plus 50. It's your original fee
Plus
plus either $100
$100.
or 100.
But you want to raise it to 200. So on a $50 permit for a shed,
It'd be 250.
it'll be $250 to get that permit.
Correct. And we do have some places that do 300% of the original fee. And there was one before, I could not find it in my list.
But there was one before that was 5 times the price. 200%, I think is.
Now, on the failure to call for inspection, if you do call for an inspection, there is no fee.
Right, that's all included
Okay,
in the original permit.
thank you.
Anybody else have questions? So you just want us to approve these first 5 first?
At first, yes.
So we'd like a motion to approve the recommended fees on the CO searches, building without a permit, permit renewals, amendments, and the temporary certificates. The failure to call the inspection will be an additional discussion.
Almost that. Now,
Moved
does
by Scott,
this have to be done by a resolution?
second by Daryl.
Hasn't heard.
So, I think so. Back to you. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. So the next step would be
Carry.
presenting a resolution to go to the
All right, full meeting.
Great.
Okay.
So now your discussion on. the
Failure to call, yeah, failure to call for inspections. We have some folks that are chronic. They do it a lot. What that does for us, it adds a lot of time to what isn't being captured right now in like this and the fees. Because we have to go back out, some of the stuff is already covered, we had to get a deposition from them for that, sometimes they change things and we don't know until we get there. So it adds a fair amount of time is money, to what we have to do. Just throwing it out there, it doesn't even have to be voted on today or whatever, just something to think about. Would you guys be open to having it where, okay, you didn't call for this inspection, it's on the sheet, you knew that you had to. That's going to cost. Well, I didn't have a new fee in there either, because I don't know what that cost would be, so. Just wanted to throw that out there.
So your range, is that the, like, first offense, second offense, third offense?
Yes,
Is that per building or per contract?
per
Yeah.
project,
Pardon me?
per project, whatever project.
Now, if they don't call for an inspection, and that stuff is all closed up, what is your procedure then?
Couple of different options. If it's something that we can still see, like say the deck, right? And we can still see the components, we'll go over and do an inspection at that point. But most of the time, we find something that we can't see, so they can do a deposition. Doesn't be the right word. Anyway, a written statement saying this is how we did it. Love to get away from that, but that's the easiest way to handle things. We still go out and do an inspection, see what we can see, and say, all right, this is what we need to do to move forward. So it might be, we can't see any of your insulation. You got to do a deposition on what you did for that. Sometimes we've even made them take some sheetrock down to show us what was behind it. And that. If it's somebody that we know, well, anyway. Yeah, that's what we've done sometimes.
Is this your proposed number?
No, that's just what others in the area have done. My proposed number, I really didn't know where to start. I wanted to get some input from you folks.
It almost would seem if you were a contractor, it was the cost of doing business for $275. Just saying.
Yeah.
But something to think about.
But we're still doing it now. We just aren't getting that. There isn't any bad side of it.
Are you trying to balance your budget for next year?
No, this was in the, this won't balance it, believe me.
Does this add up to 3%?
This was before that 3% came up before.
Sue?
And failure to call, Josh, does that mean text, phone, email?
Failure to set it up to set up an inspection and have
Maybe
it
needs any of those.
however again.
I would probably call it, failure to notify.
Yeah.
Dan,
And question for Dan. Can you do this? If you did do this, could it be per contractor? So his first offense is for working in the town of, county of Washington and trying to sneak through. And then he's made aware of the $50 fee. And he goes to do another project and that pulls the same deal again. I think it ought to be higher on him for that. And I have no problem with what you're doing, but and you still cover it per project. Because the same thing goes again, it's the same contractor, and he's doing it a second time, so that it would go either way, per contractor or per project.
I suppose you could put in, you could also, for lack of a better term, add a schedule of, you know, if you've had a previous violation, this number becomes slightly higher, for lack of a better term. So you could also do it per project, which is probably the easier way to do it. But you could also probably have an escalator, I guess you could build in, for lack of a better term, that's the same contractor doing it over and over again.
Because last time,
Additional.
the contractor gets caught, he'll figure out what happened that he got caught. You'll try to avoid that next time, and you still have the slippery contractor. Only smarter. And I think if you're gonna do it, your second offense ought to be somewhere halfway between the first and the third. Not just you've got a 1575. I think on the second offense, it ought to be a lot higher because he's been educated and he knows he's supposed to do it. And if he's still doing it, I think it takes more than a slap on the hand. I think it takes a boot to the butt.
so you're thinking like maybe 50, 150 and 275 or 50,
Yeah, I'm just
200?
saying, yeah, something in the middle ought to be
Well,
higher.
I guess, yeah, if I'm understanding you correctly, what you're saying is, you know, your fee structure is your fee structure. Then I think you kind of have a separate additional, we'll call it a penalty fee, for lack of a better term, or a repeat offender fee.
Mhm.
You know, kind of like, I'll use a criminal analogy that Tony would be familiar with. If you were convicted previously of criminal weapon, possession of a weapon fourth, the next time you commit that offense, it's criminal possession of a weapon third. Some kind of escalation.
Yeah, did you have a question?
Can I make a motion? I just want to move that we set the fees at 75, 150, and 300, and a $500 fine if you've already exceeded all of those.
Sound good to everybody?
I'll second that motion for discussion.
Moved by Pat, seconded by Daryl. Discussion? Sue?
I have another question. Just so that, I mean, failure to call or notify for inspection. Okay, what happens here is at least they've gotten a building permit. And if they get hit a few times here, you look here building without a permit. All of a sudden that looks like an easier deal. Okay, you see what I'm saying? John?
Yeah, that's interesting.
And
You're
so
right.
we're encouraging people to get building permits. We want that process. I just think we need to be careful.
Which behavior are you gonna incentivize? Yeah.
I'm shocked. Sue's more devious than I.
The
give her
slippery
credit
slope.
for.
So she's heard.
Yeah.
Are all these fees gonna be listed somewhere on the permit or with the packet that they have?
And with the failure to notify one, what I'll do is do a separate sheet that will go out with the permits, just to kind of highlight that, because it's completely new.
Is the failure to notify a bigger problem than building without a permit?
They're both, they're, I don't know which one's more, but they're both prevalent.
So maybe we need to revisit the building without a permit number as well.
Make that more strict.
Yeah.
Make that more strict.
Yes. Exactly.
Steeper.
Yeah, well, we could put something on the street and allow it time to marinate with the general users and see where you can come back for a check and adjust, right? See which, unknowingly, see which behavior we incentivize.
Right.
Okay, any further discussion?
Well, actually, one thing that we could do if we did the VWAP. Could we then ding them for that too? Because they didn't call for inspections. Then it's not one or the other. Now they got both. Not both.
Say violations, violations, violations. You have the choice of remedies.
Okay, voting on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
What were those numbers again?
75, 153.
375, 115,
Did you mention 500 beyond that? Scott?
Yeah,
And then a $500 fine beyond that.
so when you came through.
$500 for review.
That was all part of the original.
Should that be a $500 fine every instance after that?
That was,
Maybe every project on that one.
Actually, that would, yeah.
Because then we're just, they won't. They'll end up saying, forget it. Yeah. The only. The point where we have any real pull is when somebody needs a certificate. So it's either you pay this thing or you're not getting your certificate. Some folks don't care if they get a certificate. Some projects don't need a certificate in their own mind. So if it's a house, they would pay it or they won't get a certificate.
I think we're finding recently that lending institutions are making sure that their place has a deal before they loan money. I had never seen that in the past buying houses, but that is a thing now.
It's a good thing. As far as accomplishing what we're supposed to accomplish. All right.
So you're gonna, that.
That's what I got.
Check and adjust.
so we have a few options because the meeting is at 11. So that means we can either, we couldn't start before 11 for the board meeting, but we can start after. We have a few more items on the agenda, so I'm gonna toss it to the chairman and let him decide if you want me to finish my meeting or you want me to recess it and move on. I have Dan Boucher and Tony Jordan and other. I know, just throwing it out there. Are not speedy talkers.
You know, the first you guys, I think I think we're all gonna finish this meeting.
All right, so Dan, you can come up and do yours, request, probation's request. Yeah. So we can.
That's good. Handouts, you guys need them. Back or not. Our office currently has what we call a restitution clerk. They are technically a CSCA account clerk, grade 8. The position's been vacant for about 8 months. A probation supervisor has been doing the job every single day along with his job, quietly and without any argument or disagreements. He's been wonderful about it. We're having a very hard time filling that position. I just contacted all of the probation directors in the state, just asked them, what is your restitution plan? What title are they? What are their duties? Their duties are pretty much ours. Obviously, the way they break up the duties is a little different based on whether it's, you know, Warren County or if it's Westchester County because of the volume and the number of employees that are doing the tasks. But the largest numbers were the probation assistant title and principal account clerk, just because of kind of the complexity of what they're asking you to do when you collect restitution. It's court ordered. If they don't pay, either it's conditional discharge or a probation case,
you may be called to testify. In a local court, that happens quite often, county court, not so much. But the position, a little bit different than an account clerk, works independently a lot. So we expect this employee, we've been lucky over the last, 30 years that this person has always worked well with staff and everybody's kind of helped, but we expect this person to be able to open and close cases, into computer and hard file backups. You're cold calling victims to find them so you can get them money. You're cold calling defendants if they're not on probation or if they're released from prison or if it's a conditional discharge case. And you're kind of like a bill collector, an account clerk, somebody that cuts checks. We have to work with the treasurer's office to reconcile the accounts. It's monthly, it's deposits. There's quite a lot that goes into it. They actually file the conditional discharge violations themselves. It's signed off by probation assistant. Probation officers handle the probation violations for restitution issues. If there's outstanding checks that aren't cashed by victims, they either have to call around, mail, do a search for the person in various ways that we have, or we send POs out to knock on doors to help them. They also handle our support collection for support and back child, like investigations that we do for family court. There is a fee related to those investigations. Our drug testing lab services billing, they handle our polygraph billing, which thank God the treasurer's office is helping us simplify that a little bit. They also run our SORA reports, our sex offender quarterly reports with the state, and our DNA reports. And then they share duties that are their typical office duties. We currently have a probation assistant in our office. That job's filled like this. And it's only a $6,000 difference in the salary, and it's 2 pay grades. And we fill that one every single time whenever we need to fill it. For some reason, the account clerk is the tough one. But there's other titles around the county. And people, sometimes when the test comes back, the canvases go out and maybe the people have a job somewhere else. They find a different one. It's a tougher one for us. The job duty itself is created, the regs are created by the state. And it's written into state rules and regulations exactly what that probation assistant title is. And the job duties is actually very large. There's a lot you can do with that employee. So what that gives me is if I have 2 probation assistants in the office, we can have some people that are cross-trained and back up. Like right now, I have an employee, my secretary, she does all of my quarterly reporting. She does all of our payroll. She does all that stuff. She's out for a week. Well, right now I need some backups. So with these jobs, I can have 3 people that will back each other up, whether we have people leaving, we have people out on vacation, you have somebody sick. These kind of things happen in offices. I know every department deals with it, but we've dealt with it a lot this year. I had 2 employees leave around the same time in the office. The same time I had 2 POs out for my small office. It was like we had nobody that could do those tasks because not every single person was cross-trained. This will help a lot of that.
So Dan, right now you're saying is the restitution clerk equivalent to the grade 8 account clerk?
Yes, that's
Okay.
the current,
So
and that's their pay for 2024 and what 2025 would be.
So the delta is 6,000 breakage already, you're at.
We're 8 months into not having an account clerk. I also have eight months of not being able to fill a PO right now because we're waiting on a test. So I do have a lot of breakage currently.
So for the 2025 budget, it would be a different story.
2025 would be a $6,000 impact.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Are we looking for a motion to move this to personnel?
Yeah.
And I know bringing this mid-year is an issue. We don't ever like to do this. So either way, I want to present it for you guys for the budget, but I have a vacancy that I haven't been able to fill in 8 months. So if you decide to go one way or another, maybe whether it's in the budget or it's now, just kind of let me know.
So we move it to personnel and then you can come there and do the official begging.
Sounds good.
So we'll move it by Scott.
But I think you got it.
Yeah, discussion.
And me, so, but the discussion is, I think at the personnel, we have the discussion where you got 2 phases of this. You can get away with a conversation with 2024 to see if you can fill it.
Right.
With the breakage and stuff like that. Then you gotta go for a permanent staffing pattern change for 2025.
And the treasurer did supply me, the number for this year, the breakage is 104,000. Yes, right now.
Yeah.
I've reviewed it with the treasurer previously when we were talking about a different issue and what the duties were, but then I went to personnel and met with Danielle and talked about what the person actually does. Honestly, the last 20 years, this position never should have been an account clerk. The duties that they're doing is more than an account clerk job. So whether it changes now or 2 years from now, at some point, it shouldn't be an account.
Maybe you can argue with the budget officer that you, through your breakage, you built up 3 years of salary, so you.
What's the
Al?
first day of the first January?
One thing I can definitely attest to, because I deal with the same list. We definitely had, we have lowered our minimum quals for account clerks to try to recruit. And I can tell you that in many ways, because that's a title that's the starting title in my office. So I can attest to the fact that that title, based on the duties, is probably way out of whack. I'm not gonna speak to the finances of it, but as far as the personnel side of it, I can absolutely say that is not a proper title for what, even what we're doing. You know, when I have a staffing turnover, you'll probably see me come back and have a conversation with you, because that account clerk now is, we need a little bit more than that in some of what we do. So that, where that used to be your entry level position, that's now kind of like what the clerk used to be. And you kind of now need a little bit more fiscal maneuvering in some of our fiscal offices. So I can't speak to the title piece of it. Through my own experience.
We have
that's
applicants that
probably-
have never written a check before in their personal lives, and I expect them to write thousands of dollars of checks. It's really hard for me to just have faith in. It's difficult.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Did you have something, Dan?
Yeah, you
Sorry.
recognize me once, but
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to caution everybody. And I don't disagree, or I'm not arguing about the need or the correction. But every year, at the end of the year, there's about $1 million rollover from the short or the breakage on this. And every committee that I've ever sat in, we're adding people or doing raises. That $1 million is going to be gone out of the budget. So on top of any other expenses, you've lost $1 million of rollover. And it's going to impact you when it comes time to set the budget, the taxes, you're going to have to face this. So just be careful and be cautious, is all I'm saying. And whatever way it goes, it goes. I'm just saying that is something that you don't think about, that you're actually impacting. Like Daryl said in 2025, but you're impacting it overall by close to $1 million if we keep spending all this.
Chairman?
Yeah, who's gonna bring up what Dan brought up, but also wanted, have you got an active list? Is there-
Just got 5 people that returned to campus. I've been through 15 before where I wouldn't let them touch our bank books.
Yeah.
So it's tough, but there's 5 right now that returned it. And that's a brand new list that just came out this month.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how many people were on it, because we've had some real trouble with our.
And I'm fighting against BOCES and the rest of the county and whoever else can take
Right.
that. Yeah.
So, could wind up having just nobody.
Melissa?
I know the request isn't ideal being mid-year, but I will say because we're trying to fill the position, I'd hate to see us fill the position and have the position wrongly classified right from the beginning with that new employee. I think it's important to classify the position properly, paid properly, and then going forward, it's fixed. It's hard when you hire somebody new and then say, you know, your position really isn't classified right, we've got to change it after we hired you.
That can create some union issues if you jump somebody up from an 8 to a 10. And, you know, it wasn't put out as a job for bid, so.
That person might not qualify for meet the minimum qualifications for that job.
Exactly.
That's a problem.
So the 5 you have on the list are for account clerks.
Yep.
Not, is there a list for probation assistants?
There's. Well, the test is just their results are coming back this month in August.
Okay.
So I know at least 5 or 6 people took it, so
Okay.
at least that I know.
Okay, again, there's a motion and a second on the floor to move it to personnel for discussion. Any further discussion in this meeting? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Dan. Okay, Tony, we're timing you.
I need a resolution to accept
Perfect.
the 2024.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's perfect. You started right ahead of time.
I need a resolution. Our crime victim services grant is a 3-year grant. We're entering the last year. It runs from October 1 to September 30. So we need a resolution just to add to the request to get money that's already been allocated, and that amount is $144,773.01. So moved.
Moved by Daryl, seconded by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
And I think what we need is a board resolution.
We go to finance.
Thank you. Opposed? Carried. Perfect. Other.
Not even Dan.
I know. Keep going. You're not out the door. Other. Chairman,
We have some other,
that's a big step, other.
pass that around. I'll introduce it here. We've, wanted to do a resolution regarding the closing of the Gray Meadow facility. And under quite a lot of pressure to get this done prior to this rally coming up this weekend. Had we had a two-thirds majority, we probably wouldn't think it. This is bringing in as a across the transom thing under other items that might come before the board for a special meeting. With a two-thirds majority, you could have either said yes, we accept it, no, we don't. However, we're gonna be lucky to have a quorum today. We certainly don't have a two-thirds majority. The other option is to bring it through a committee and then bring it straight to the floor. I am under advice of counsel that this might not fit under other things that might come before the board. And I almost always accept the advice of counsel, but this time I think that we're not spending any money. It's not a budget bill, and it is something that's got some real exigence to it. And I would like the committee to look over this thing, if you wish, move it to the board, and we'll consider it in 5 minutes. And if it's something, bad happens, it's my fault, it's not Dan's.
Well, as I said, I'm not trying to act as an 18th supervisor here. I want to be very clear. I have no problems with sentiment or the reasons why. But generally with a special meeting, even when you have such other business, you're limited to the subject matter that was put forward on the agenda, which in this case is the Mill Falls Farm resolutions, which this unfortunately really doesn't have anything to do with this. As the chairman said, this is more a sentiment of the board. Do I see any long-term damage in it? No, but I don't want to set a precedent, so I'm saying now what I'll say again, just so everybody has it. And as I said, when I interviewed for this job, you're free to accept or reject my advice as you see fit. I also like to say you likely also face the consequences thereof. But as I said, that's my only issue with anything. In fact, that we're going from here to there. There's no notice requirement on the or it's not part of the notice either. I understand it could be a different resolution number on it, but as I said, do I have an issue with the resolution itself? No, it's just more the procedure.
What could the consequences be?
On this particular resolution, really, I can't foresee anything other than somebody saying you did it wrong. Obviously, if you're spending money or doing something else like that, someone could bring an action saying the action was invalid. So this particular resolution, do I see an issue? No, but I have to be consistent.
There could be a campaign issue. Not to vote for chairman next year. But
Yeah, but it does kind of sit in a public safety sort of,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have this question.
so I mean.
It's just the timing and the exigence, that's all. And I wanted to mention, by the way, that, I didn't write this, several people contributed to this, I contributed some, a major portion was done by our treasurer, I just wanted to, shout out to him on that, he did a nice job of putting the bones together on this. And I think it's important.
Just a quick question, Mr. Chairman. I haven't had a chance to read through it, but is this a good resolution that we can take to our town boards?
That's part of the point, that I'm under quite a lot of pressure from other town supervisors to get one done so they can take it, and also to go to intercounty if they want it.
Nice act.
Nice, yeah. So it's, yes. That's-
Scott,
I move that we take this to the full board.
Second.
moved by Scott, seconded by Gerald. Any further discussion? Al?
So while this may be a stretch Armstrong stretch, the special board meeting is in regards to the Fort Ann barn. 60% of which will be borne by the taxpayers of the town of Fort Ann, which will be directly at the closure of the creek. But I'm just saying.
It's Bill Falls up for that.
But it's a barn project that we, I'm trying to.
It's under burn. No, if something hits the fan, it's gonna hit hard on me, so don't.
Don't see
Don't
fire.
try to defend him.
Sue?
Al, I don't know if this is the part that you did, but I was wondering if you could actually put more on this whereas.
I can either confirm or deny, Supervisor.
Okay, so whereas Washington Correctional Facility and HVAC State Police Forensic Lab, it's dependent on Great Meadow for their power supply, gas system and sewer infrastructure. If they were to have to upgrade that to be self-sufficient, what would that cost me?
No idea, that's a piece I wrote.
What did you write?
I don't know, I would think it would be huge, I mean, they just put a bunch of money into that power plant, it would have to come out of where it is, go over to Washington, I believe. If they have, I don't know. I have no way of, in my mind, coming up with this.
Probably tens of millions.
Yeah, I hope I made it for that.
Yeah, I would say over 100 million.
Yeah.
Well, 100 million, I think we're gonna say.
Not only that aspect, but there's other, I don't know if it's in here yet or not, but, they're looking at building a new infirmary. Great Meadow has a fully operational hospital. They're gonna close that down and build another one 300 yards away. Great Meadow has industry, they make soaps that, so it's actually a profitable industry, and they make soaps and DEF that gets sold all across the state. They're looking at moving all of those facilities, which will need a place to operate 300 yards away. So there's a lot of things that go into financially, what I'm talking about, that just don't make any sense.
I know I talked to one of the truck drivers, delivers, and Manans, the warehouse, they have no idea what they're gonna do for supplying the rest of the state, that stuff right over there, the hand sanitizer. That's all made in the state, right, Great Meadow. This has huge ramifications throughout the whole state.
Okay, any further discussion? Voting on the motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anything else to come before the Public Safety Committee?